Hello, everybody. You are currently listening to Youth Frequency right here on 98.9 KRSM. Today, we are here with Eddie Weinstein to tell us about what he does in the local music space. How are you today?
I'm doing quite well today, thank you.
What has been your biggest inspiration for your art?
That's a really good question. I think for me, I spend a lot of time looking at surprisingly spirituality is a really important thing. I look at there's a lot of things in kind of older spiritual and religious texts that deal with music and numbers, and I use a lot of those numbers when it comes to programming rhythms and patterns and kind of what the deeper meaning of each of those numbers mean. So a lot of that comes as a big influence on the music that I do.
Do you think this is something you want to do for the rest of your life?
Definitely. I have made art in some capacity, whether it be visual art with painting or photography or whatever, or music for as long as I can remember. And while maybe this is something that I do more for myself and not necessarily as a career, I work on and play music basically every single day and will continue to.
If music wasn't your passion, what do you think you would be pursuing?
I think that for me, besides music and art, I work in education. That's what I do as a job. I work in schools, and my long-term goal is to be an art teacher. That's what I'm working my way towards. So in some way, being around arts, and I love education. I like working with the youth or really anyone who wants to learn more. So I think that's what I am doing and what I will continue to do. Yeah.
How did you start pursuing music? What brought you to it?
That's a really good question. When I was in high school age, I was messing around a little bit with music production softwares and making beats and stuff and doing all that, and I kind of took a pause from that for many years when I went to college and I started pursuing more of a visual art. Eventually, when I was halfway through college, I started working around film and making short kind of experimental films, and I wanted to make the music for my own films, and so then I started making the music and scoring my own work, and I ended up realizing I think I like the music side a little bit more, and I still do both, but I kind of skew a little towards that more.
Thank you.
What does the success look like for you in your genre?
That's also a really good question. Success in the genre of music that I do. So I think about the community in noise in the Minnesota scene they're very supportive of each other. I think everyone is kind of under the agreement that we know that there is a very clear ceiling in terms of how much success that we can have. I think a lot of the times the highest forms of success is being able to play a lot of shows, being able to play live, to record. I think for me, my long-term goal is to be able to have some more consistent output of recorded and released music and not just gigging. So that balance. I think that's what success in the genre looks like, is a really consistent output of release.
And how long do you think that's going to take you?
I think it's a constant work in progress for sure. It kind of ebbs and flows. Ideally, I would love to be able to have some sort of an EP of 2 or 3 tracks finished by the end of the summer. I'm kind of working towards that right now is the goal. But it's hard to quantify, and it's hard to kind of know for sure what the time frame is on it, if that makes any sense.
Thank you. Who are your biggest influences, both musically and non-musically?
I think musically, biggest influences for me are, I really love I started with like a lot of like metal, and then like I think about as far back as like Black Sabbath, where they were like really kind of pushing the envelope and boundary of what it is to be like a performance act in music. I think more contemporary, there's, you know, I love like Aphex Twin and a lot of like electronic kind of that kind of borders on the line of like what is appealing and what is unappealing. I'm actually wearing a shirt of an influence, Wolf Eyes. They're like a great noise duo based in Michigan. There's a band I love called The Body that I think is a really big influence in terms of their noise and dissonance and how they kind of do things. But really, they just sit anywhere. But in non-music, a lot of the like, there's a lot of these kind of more unknown small-scale filmmakers from the 1970s, 80s, and 90s that were working with like, they were making short films that really had there was no story to them at all, and it was like described as like visual music. When you look at them, they look like music visually, but they're completely silent. And those are, I think, the biggest influences on what I do.
Okay, thank you. Is it hard getting involved in the local music scene, knowing you might fail the first couple of times?
I think that it's kind of a tightrope to walk a little bit, because inevitably you are going to be told no a lot, regardless of what genre of music, what kind of world you're in, because there are so many people that are all after the same goal. And it's really easy to maybe develop sort of like resentment towards the people in the scene of like, wow, why is this person getting more shows that like, why we do the same thing, our music sounds like the same, how are they able to get more successful? And I've learned that ultimately just being out there and supporting, even if it's a show that you've been like told nope, you're not going to perform on, it's really good because it's putting yourself out there. But I don't know, failure is a part of success. I value failure quite a bit. And when I work with either other students or people with art as well too, I tell them like, most of the things that you make were probably going to fall apart, and that's actually really, really good. That's a good thing, to embrace those failures.
What was the most interesting show you've played?
I played a show a couple of years ago. This one is really memorable, where it was at a venue in St. Paul called White Squirrel. And it's like a small space. It's not super big, but there were like a lot of people crammed in there. And most of the other people that were playing like really like calm, like chill, like ambient electronics that's like very like pleasant and nice. And I was the last person that was playing. And I like look around at everyone and I just like apologized in advance, because I was like, I know that this is going to go a very different route. But that show was really memorable because it was one of the first and only times I ever actually did vocals for my music as well, where I was like talking and yelling and all of that. And I think the thing that was really memorable was I don't look up at the crowd when I'm performing because it's like a nerve thing, but also I need to be able to focus on like what I'm doing because there's a lot of stuff happening. So I don't actually ever see what the crowd reaction is until the end. But at the end of that set, I looked up and everybody in the crowd was sitting on the ground just staring at like what I was doing. And I've never had it was such a strange response, and it was like really memorable of like people were sitting like that the whole time, and it was it's just a very shocking response, and that will actually probably sit in my brain forever.
What is the type of music you never thought you would like understand it?
I never thought I would love in my adult life country music as much as I actually do now. Not all of it. There's a lot of it that's quite bad, but like there's a couple acts that are like older, like a lot of the older stuff where it's just like it has a very soulful quality to it. And then there's like one, I think Orville Peck is like the only one that I can think of who's like a more contemporary country artist that is like also doing a lot of positive impact for like the LGBTQIA plus scene and as a country artist, which I think is a really cool thing. But yeah, country music for sure is like, I listen to it a lot more than I realize.
The second question is, if you could like play your songs in any areas like venues, what would it be? What country or continent?
I really like a lot of the noise that comes out of Japan. It's like a really big scene for noise, and I really would like to try and go. I've been there before, but I want to go back to like actually do not even like a tour, but just to like reconnect with the friends that I made when I was over there and try and like play some more shows. I think that would be really cool. Also, very surprisingly, Indonesia has a really, really solid noise scene, and they have this huge noise festival that they do in Yogyakarta that is like it's like hundreds and hundreds of artists play over the course of a few days, and it's noise as a form of protest, but also as a form of art. So those are kind of the two places outside of the United States that I think I would really like to go to play shows.
And here's a funny question. What do you think is better, DC or Marvel?
I think I I'm less of a franchise person and more of like a character person, and I think like overall my favorite comic book character is Swamp Thing, who's a DC character. I love him so much. But also I love I read comics as a kid. There was this really great line of Venom comics from the mid-90s that are really, really good, where he becomes a superhero out of spite, where he's like, you know what? I can do Spider-Man's job better than Spider-Man, so I'm going to move to California and become a superhero. And he does like a really bad job at it, frankly, because he doesn't know when to pull his punches, is maybe a really nice way to put it. But yeah, so I'm more of a character person. I guess I don't know. Those are the two that I can really think of.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time, Eddie. We really appreciate it. We hope listeners out there enjoyed, and you are listening to 98.9 FM KRSM Radio, Radio for All. And one last question. Do you have any upcoming shows?
No upcoming shows, unfortunately. Right now, I'm working on some, hopefully in the fall. Ideally, I'm going to have the untitled EP that I'm working on finished in the next couple of months. I really plug most of my stuff on Instagram nowadays. I kind of bounce between like my own name, and then on the Instagram handle is Mysterium Electronica, and that's where you'll find like videos of performances. I'm on YouTube. That's usually stuff that's under my own name. But yeah, hopefully some new music in the next couple of months.
Thank you.